Hello, my name is Daniel Rose. I'm part of the Balanced Impulse team, and I'm here to introduce our game, Balanced Impulse Requiem of the Elements. It is a side scrolling action platformer with a focus on character swapping and combat. In the game, you'll control one of four characters that you'll be able to choose from a group of seven to swap between. Each character has a unique elemental ability, like shooting a fireball or creating a climbable vine surface. The goal of the game is to rescue all the characters so you can use four of them to reach the end of the final level and cleanse the altar. Originally, we had planned to have a slime as the main character, and that they would be able to like absorb elements as they defeated enemies and gain elemental abilities as they played. But this went against our design pillar of character swapping, so we decided to stick with the same characters.
One of the more interesting features we included is the elemental damage system that gives interaction with enemies and the environment more complexity. Not including physical damage, there are 7 elemental damage types which combine in pairs to make several different reactions, including boosted damage, impaired movement, buffs, and debuffs. The enemy slimes, which themselves are made of the 7 different elements, are susceptible to the same reactions as the player, but are immune to their own element. To make the reactions possible, they both use the same component, which applies a status effect based on the type of damage taken. When two of these states are active at the same time, a reaction is triggered. Every possible combination of elements that makes up the system of reactions had to be mapped out before even starting to work on it in engine. Working out those finer details ahead of time saved us from wasting precious hours during the development process.
Within our game, one of the main mechanics is the use of elements and their properties to progress through levels and solve platforming puzzles. We felt that with the creation of the elemental combo system, applying these status effects and properties would add another level to the gameplay that allowed for an intuitive mechanic learning. Players are able to take these skills that they've learned through combat in some cases, then apply that to a specific puzzle or blocked path within a level, whether it be triggering elemental switches or burning down vines that are blocking your path. With this understanding, we built levels that would aptly demonstrate over time the player's ability to wield these elements to complete each level, and as well as unlock hidden paths, find specific items to unlock doors, or gather all the elemental artifacts through a test of elemental mastery within the final level.
Throughout Capstone, we went through many difficulties with our game. Some would only hold us up for a few days, but others persisted throughout the entire duration of Capstone. This could be anything from cosmetic issues like our climbing animation not behaving correctly to more problematic issues like our player skills not behaving as intended. As an example, the Electro character's ability is meant to track and home on the closest enemy to the player. However, although it succeeds in doing this, it would sometimes incorrectly attempt to track and home on targets that far exceed its maximum intended range. It was also a long lasting issue that had persisted over multiple months before we were finally able to get it to function as intended. Some other noteworthy issues being keys not being properly counted or turrets not functioning as intended, as well as issues with the slime's AI when we transitioned from 3D to 2D, which required the slimes to be recoded from scratch.
How does the current game compare to our initial vision at the start of Capstone? When breaking down our game down to its initial design pillars, we did what we initially set out to do. Our initial design pillars were elemental combat, exploration, and party customization. Within our game, all those core values are present, however, there was one major change from our initial vision compared to what we ended up with. When we came up with our initial design concepts and pillars, we were designing out our game to be within a 3D environment where the player would have a third person controller and would be able to move about in whatever direction they chose. While we were making the game, we did decide to switch our perspective and limit the control of the players to have the game feel more like a 2D platformer. The results was almost completely a new game, and we needed to think about how this new design would affect our level designs and how our existing mechanics would need to be changed to compensate for our new perspective.